Hey, welcome to the Nursing Dose with your host, Dr. Farah Laurent. Today, I want to talk to you about starting a business as a nurse, and I want to share 5 tips before you start your business. All right. So, I'm going to get right into it. Not feeling the best, so just excuse my voice. I just wanted to come on live and share this. Okay. For those who don't know me, I am a nurse career coach. I help new nurses level up in their career, land their dream job in less than 90 days. I've helped over 200 nurses land their dream role in specialty areas all over the US and Canada. The majority of my clients are from the California and New York area. And then I also help aspiring nurse entrepreneurs and nurse entrepreneurs start and grow their businesses through personal branding, content creation, and visibility. All right, so let's get into it. As promised, the 5 tips before you start your business. All right, so I'm just going to break it down. A lot of nurses come to me because they see me as a nurse career coach. I've been doing this for about 4 years now. And I've been consistently showing up on social media, particularly LinkedIn. I just posted that I hit 30K. So thank you to my LinkedIn family. I'm also streaming live on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. So shout out to everybody watching and also watching the replay if you happen to be watching. Let me know where you're watching from, what city, what country. Drop any comments or questions that you may have. Okay. So many nurses basically ask me, like, how did you do this, right? How did you start your coaching business? And they always want to know. So that's why I started creating content for nurses who are interested in business. All right. So, number one, I want to break down what type of businesses that you can have as a nurse. And mind you, most of you are still working full time or part time, and you could still start a business. I started my business while I was in a DNP program. That's right. Yes, a doctoral program. My daughter was just a few months old. I had 2 kids under the age of 5 while starting the business, and I was working full time. So, there's no excuses. If you really want to do it, obviously you have to be driven, you have to be committed, and you have to stay consistent. Okay. So, the two kind of areas that you could get into is start a service-based business or a product style business, right? So you could sell a physical product or a digital product, and there's many other variations, but I'm just keeping it very simple. And then a service-based business, I mean, there's a lot of businesses like telehealth practices and things like that are virtual. But for a lot of my audience, they want to start things like coaching or consulting, which can be done as a service where you're not really having to have a place to actually do it. You could just do it virtually online. Okay. So that's what I do with my clients. I work one-on-one with them literally through Zoom. And that's how I do my career coaching, helping them with resumes, cover letters. And obviously we go deeper into like their um, mindset, the confidence piece, all those things to really help transform their thinking so that they could really land the positions that they want. Okay. So, again, service based business or product type business, just to simplify it and keep it simple. So, number one tip before you even start, I would say is you have to get clear. You need clarity on what is your vision and what impact do you ultimately want to make? That is so important. Yes, eventually money will come, it will follow if you're solving problems, right? Because essentially, business is that you are tapping into the marketplace to see what the need is, what problem are you fixing, and what solution are you bringing to the table, and is there a need for it? But underneath all that, you need to get clear on your vision and your impact. What impact do you want to make? So for me, particularly, the reason I started my coaching business is because as a nursing student, I didn't have someone like myself as a coach. There was no career coaches 20 years ago when I started. And one of my clinical instructors told me I'd never be an emergency nurse and I should not even try. She laughed in my face, and that was really like the story. So, of course, I turned around and turned that into a positive experience, and I still pursued emergency medicine and got hired as a nursing student, right? So, from then on, I promised myself I would become an educator and really inspire the new generation of nurses to make sure that they follow what it is that they want to do. So, have I worked with other nurses, other experienced nurses to get them into educator or leadership roles? Yes, absolutely. But my impact, my focus is truly on supporting the nursing students and the new graduate nurse. That's really the impact that I want to make, because that's what matters to me the most. That's my why, and that's my vision, and that's what fulfills me. Okay, so that's what you need to find. You need to find that clarity so that you can have a sustainable business, right? Because if you have impact and you know clearly what your purpose is, that's going to be your drive. That's what's going to keep you going. But again, there needs to be some research that you do, but we'll get into that in just a little bit. So number one is find clarity on your why and your vision, and why you want to start this business. Who do you want to serve? What impact do you want to make? And what problem are you solving? And what is the transformation, right? But you need clarity on that before you even start. Okay, so that's number one. And then number two, you have to start a personal brand early. All right, so I meet a lot of nurses that are like, what is a personal brand? I don't know what that is. And they don't take it seriously, right? So let's say you want to, in the future, write a book or start a business in the future. What you need to do is start building your personal brand now, because you don't want to wait until later. Because then when you're ready to launch your business or you're ready to write that book or whatever, people will already know you and they will know about your brand and what it is that you do. So essentially, you are the brand. A lot of nurses don't realize that they have a brand, but you do have a brand and you are the brand. So I would say start early on building that. And how do you build a personal brand? Literally, it's the way that you show up every day, whether in person or online, at events. And it's demonstrating your expertise, your values, what you stand for, and really you managing what the public feels about you and how they perceive you. It's how others perceive you to be like, in terms of what you do, what you stand for, your values, and what do you want to be known for. Okay. So for me, most people know me as the career coach, and I help new graduate nurses, and I help empower nurses. I help them be more bold and confident. And that's part of my brand, right? Just to be kind of unstoppable, right? So, yes, eventually, if you want to start a business, yes, you have to think about logos and colors and that type of stuff. But that's just one piece of the brand. The real brand that I want you to start building, that personal brand, is showing up and being intentional about how you show up, whether online or in person, right? Because you want to be seen as the leader, the thought leader, the expert in your field, and the authority. And that's how you build that brand. So part of it is also building like a digital footprint so that people just know you. Okay, so we'll get into that in just a little bit more about how to build that brand, but you need to start building a brand. So I would ask, do this activity. Ask yourself, how do you want others to perceive you in terms of, what do you want to be known for? When they think about you, how should they feel? What words should come to mind, right? So I do this quick activity. For example, I say, what do you think about when you hear Bob Marley? Or what do you think about when you hear Muhammad Ali, right? You think not just boxer, but you think, he was an activist, he was very confident, all these things come with that name. And that's almost what you have to think about, right? What traits do you want to be associated with yourself? What values, the things that you do, the things that you stand for. So building that, ask yourself those questions. What do you want to be known for? What do you do? What do you stand for? What are your values? And what impact do you want to make? All right. Kind of write that out. And then ask, I would say, at least 10 people who know you, whether friends, family, ask them to describe you in a sentence or two, and ask them to describe you, to give like a couple traits about yourself. And then look at all that and see if it's in alignment with how you want people to view you. And if it's not in alignment, then you need to do a little bit more work in terms of how you demonstrate yourself, because it all has to be congruent, and align, right? So if you're just joining me, we're talking about how nurses can start their businesses, but what are 5 things and what 5 tips to do before you start your business? So number 1 is clarity on your why and your vision, what impact you want to make and what problems you want to solve, right? Number 2 is build a personal brand early. Do not wait, right? And then really it's essentially like just really knowing yourself and knowing what parts of yourself you want to put out there that is truly you and not a misconception of you, right? It's not about like making up something that you're not. It's just making sure that you're demonstrating yourself clearly to others, right? So there's no misperception, because if you don't build your personal brand, trust me, other people will build it for you and it may not be exactly what you want, right? So you want to be able to communicate, articulate, demonstrate all those things in your personal brand. All right. Number 3, you want to learn marketing. Marketing is so important, and it's very different than personal branding. Personal branding is more long-term. Marketing is kind of short-term, and it may change over time depending on what it is you're trying to market, whether it's an offer you're trying to create or you're trying to promote something like an event. Whatever the thing is, you need to learn marketing. It is essential. So a lot of nurses don't really understand what marketing is and how to market themselves, their services, or their products. One great book that I recommend is obviously my book, Nurses Making Money Moves, The Nurse's Guide to Starting a Business. But it's over here, actually. Let me show you. You can find it on my website, nursefarah.com. So this is the book, and I'll drop the link later. But another one of my favorite books is called The One-Page Marketing Plan by Alan Dibb. It's a little bit older, but I think it does a really great job of breaking down what marketing is. There's other great books out there, but I just think foundationally that's a really good book to really simplify marketing. So marketing, because if you have a business and you don't know how to generate leads, right? Like potential, like prospects leads to potential customers, it's going to be very hard for you to have a business if you don't know how to market it. Because one of the most important things in business is, right, cash flow, like how you're getting your clients, how you're keeping your clients, and, it's all marketing. So that is an important skill to learn. There's different aspects of marketing. There's paid marketing. I wouldn't suggest that right away if you're just starting your business. I would wait a little bit more. But marketing is a big piece of it. All right, number 4, I would say, is to be visible. Get ready to be visible and get ready to create content. And I know a lot of people might argue about this and say, there's a lot of business owners out there who make millions and don't need to create content and don't need to be visible. But guess what? You're not making millions right now. And you still need to create content and you need to be visible. Because if no one knows about you, they're not going to know that you have a business. They're not even going to know that you exist. And if you don't know that a business exists, right? How are people going to buy from you? How are they going to buy your services and know how great you are? So you have to create content. Also, that content creation and being visible helps build that personal brand because people need to know you. So in business, there's that simple phrase, right? Which is like people need to know you to be able to like you, to be able to trust you so that they could do business with you, right? And that's essentially what it is. So the know, like, trust factor is going to be more easy to build the more visible you are. So me, I'm right here live every week. You see my face, you see me pop up on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and now I'm venturing off on TikTok to try to also, get my younger audience of the new nurses. So follow me on TikTok as well. I'm just learning the platform, but I highly recommend starting with one platform when you start. For me, I started with LinkedIn. And like I said, over the last 4 years, I built my audience to about 30,000, which is a massive following. And that's another reason you need to create content, because you need to build a community. You need to build an audience so that you can learn what it is that they want and need from you in terms of your content and also for your business. So you need to provide value, and you also get a sense of what your community or what your potential customers or what your current clients want and need from you. And you can communicate through your content and listen to what it is that they really want. So for me, over the years, a lot of my clients and a lot of my community, they want to hear about job search. They want to like strategies. They want to hear about personal branding. Mostly for the new nurses and the new grads, they want to understand how to interview better. Interviewing is a huge request that I get. So I try to create a lot of content around how to do an interview and things like that. So that's why content is so important, because it builds your personal brand. You are more visible and you're seen as a thought leader, as an expert, as the authority in whatever niche that you're trying to establish yourself in, right? And then be visible only not online, but also in person. So be strategic about the events that you go to. So for me, unfortunately, I can't go to all the events. I wish I could go to all the conferences and all the events, but it's very hard because obviously as a solo entrepreneur, a wife, I have two young kids. So it's hard for me to get to all these events. But what I do is I also create smaller events. So I have a business mastermind that I put on. The next one's going to be in October in Clearwater Beach. DM me if you're interested to learn how to get into this business mastermind, where I'll be teaching all these things. I just had one early on in August, and it was fabulous. And I also have my upcoming conference called Nurses Making Business Moves. That's going to be in Tampa, Florida, March 6th and March 7th, 2026, at the University of Tampa in their business entrepreneurship building. So definitely look out for that. I'll drop the link so you can get your early bird tickets, because it actually ends August 31st. And also my birthday's this Saturday, August 30th. So do yourself a favor, get your early bird ticket. It's very important. So yeah, networking at conferences and events, just be strategic, because I know you can't attend all of them, but be strategic to like which ones that you can attend every year. Okay. So definitely creating content. Like I said, start on one platform. If you feel very comfortable with content creation, then I would say 2 platforms max, but try to go where you think your audience is. So for me, I've been on LinkedIn for about 4 years. However, I'm now going more to TikTok because I've realized that the younger nursing students, the younger new nurses, that's where they are, mostly on TikTok. But I'm also trying to create content on Instagram and stuff like that. But like I said, mainly I started on LinkedIn. And really the importance is to show up consistently. So I show up pretty much almost every single day. I go live multiple times a week, and I've been doing that for 4 years. So your audience needs to see you. They need to get to know you, because on average, right, in business, a customer needs to see you at least 7 to 9 times or have some type of contact with you or your brand, whether it's like through email, through seeing you at events, or seeing you in person, or seeing your content. They need to engage at least like 7 to 9 times before they trust you, right? So that they could buy your product, whether it's a course or, go into your services if you're doing like a one-on-one coaching service like I'm doing for new grads, right? And also, speaking about courses, I do have a digital course called the New Nurse to Dream Role course. You can find it on my website, nursefear.com. So definitely check that out. Early bird ends the end of this month as well. The course is only $4.97, and it's essentially everything that I'm doing in my coaching program, one-on-one, has been jam-packed into this self-paced course, which is just different modules, and has a lot of resources about interviews and things like that. All right. So yeah, number 4 was be ready to create content, because a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to create content. I don't want to be on video. Like, how do you do that? And honestly, I think once you get clear on your vision, your purpose, the impact you want to make, then it doesn't matter. Like that whole, oh, I don't want to come on video, or I have to look good, or blah. Like, I don't care. Half the time, my hair's not fully done. I just show up here because I want to be consistent and I want to provide that value. And I know my community appreciates when I'm consistent and I'm constantly coming and I'm talking about different topics. So it becomes bigger than you when you want to serve others, right? So that's why I don't mind going on video or going live. And eventually, the more you do it, the better you'll get, okay? And then number 5, you need to learn the business side of things. Nurses, honestly, we're way too nice. And we just need a more business mindset. We need to learn more business acumen, learn things like sales, marketing, business terminology. So I invite you to go to business conferences, business expos, get in touch with other industries that's going to help you grow in your business. Get in touch with professionals such as tax professionals, attorneys that can help you in your business, so you can recognize what moves to make in your business. And then learn the market, because the market's constantly changing. So you might have to pivot in your business a couple times, or whatever the case is, because you have to be adaptable in business. But really learning the money part, the systems, how business works, all that type of stuff is super important before you even start your business. All right. So I hope this was helpful. I'll stick around for like a minute or two to take any questions. And like I said, if you happen to be watching the replay, definitely drop in any comments or questions that you may have. Okay, so somebody's asking about a collaborating MD in Texas. All right. Well, I don't know, but I would say definitely just continue to make connections. And one way that you can do that is creating content and just reaching out and networking on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a big platform for business to consumer, so B2C, and then B2B, business to business. There are so many people on LinkedIn. It's a massive platform that's international. So I would say, depending on the type of business you're trying to build, one of those platforms that you should constantly be on is LinkedIn. And I would say pick a second one that you think that your audience, hangs out at. All right, so that's it for me. Please follow me for more content. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Nursing Dose with Farah. Again, subscribe on YouTube if you're not subscribed. Please follow me for more content. Hit the bell on LinkedIn so that you'll be notified for any further content that I create. Please connect with me if you're not connected, especially if you are a nurse. And if you're interested to work with me one-on-one, you can book a consultation call. And yes, that's a paid consultation call because I get so many requests on the bottom of my LinkedIn. If you can't find it, direct message me if you're interested to work with me one-on-one. I'm currently taking 2 clients only one-on-one, and you have to qualify to be able to work with me. What else? I do have the course, the new Nurse to Dream Role course, which is on nursefair.com. Find it under course. You can get my book there as well, Nurses Making Money Moves, Nurses Guide to Starting a Business. If you're interested in any of the upcoming events that I mentioned, like my conference, or the Business Mastermind, direct message me, and then I will drop the links after this is done as well.